Hello and welcome. This is the recap of week one of Loving What Is, the 4-week Byron Katie study on Monday nights. And I'm here with Anna, Oakland Anna, and we're going to go through the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet that we did last night in class. She's going to walk me through mine just to give yet another example of this. But I also want to address a question that Athena Anna had asked last night. And the question was, and Oakland Anna, feel free to help me with this question, but it seemed like the question was, if you're hanging out with someone or have somebody in your life where they have a lot of negativity or just you no longer feel connected or resonant with them, how do you know, and you feel like you've cleared that stuff in you, you feel like that they're not triggering you can be there, in presence with them, like, but you are feeling called to leave them or kind of not spend time with them anymore. How do you know if it's whether that's valid or whether you really do have stuff still hidden down below? And we talked about that last night, and Sarah brought up the good point of, like, emotionally, like, does it feel like you're running away from them, or what that is, and
or pushing away,
like what's kind of the energy around that. And on the way home I was thinking, and I think I was trying to get to this in the class, but I couldn't quite explain it the way I wanted to, about when you let go of something. Like when you let go of something, in your environment and you're letting it go, is that when you let go of something, let go of it freely and completely, and know that if you need it again, it will present itself. So if you feel called to separate yourself from this particular person and you weren't clear, like you still had some shit to do, like it will present itself again in another person or another situation. Like you'll never miss out on those AFGO moments. like so the way to know is you can't know in the moment, but you do what you feel called to do, and don't worry that you're bypassing something, because you'll have the opportunity to do it again, right? And just because it presents again doesn't mean that you haven't cleared it, but it's just an opportunity for you to see how you are. So anything you wanted to add to that? Or
No, I think that's great. That I feel like we've all been in that situation where we're just like, like I don't, like, what am I getting out of this at this point? Or is this more torturous? Is this loving to me to stay in this situation where, like, I just just don't feel aligned with this person. I don't feel like their energy is supporting me, and yeah, and I think people who are on the spiritual path are always wondering that, like, did I, have I learned what I came here to learn from this, or whatever. And I think it's a great point, because sometimes we can get into that spin of, like, have I gotten the message? Have I done the healing? And it's like, that's a real conceptual place to be, and to just have that go back 2 steps and rely on that faith and trust that life is unfolding for you. And if you need to work on it again in the future, don't worry, life's going to make it happen for you. AFCO.
yeah, you're not going to miss out on any AFGOs. Like,
No.
they're just going to be there.
Yeah, exactly. And they're basically unlimited. All you can eat AFCO buffet.
Yeah, that was part of the deal with this one, is that you walked into this life and you had unlimited access to AFGOs. Like,
All you want. Yeah, so I like that perspective. That's good. That's helpful to hear.
Okay, great. So you want to walk me through my judgy neighbor worksheet?
Yeah, let's get judgy.
Let's get judgy.
Yeah, so let's do it like we did last night, where just take it from the top, and just so people are, if they're watching and following along, like, just say number 1 and then what you wrote, so they can follow in their worksheet.
Okay, so it's number one on your Judge Your Neighbor worksheet from Byron Katie, and the in the situation, who angers, disappoints you, why? So I am angry slash sad with my dad because he's not there for me. He, let's get all judgy.
Yep.
He never called, didn't send presents for our birthdays. It was like out of sight, out of mind. He made me feel unimportant, that I wasn't as important as his job. I'm mad I'm mad at my dad for my emotions certainly not being important. And I'm mad at him for making promises that he wouldn't keep.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm mad at him for making me feel like I had to be useful in order to matter. Like there's a lot of like conditional importance. All, I'm sure, self-projected, but still, like that's where it is for me. That he's not there for me. You know.
Yep.
And number two, I want my dad to call me, to tell me he loves me, to tell me he's proud of me. And then it says, no, actually, I just want him to show up and to keep promises. I want him not to disappoint me. Number three, dad shouldn't make promises he can't keep. Dad should make more of an effort to see his family. Dad should make more of an effort to let me know he thinks about me when I'm not there, that I matter to him, that I'm important to him. Number four, I need dad to call me, visit me, ask about me, tell me he's proud of me, let me know he's thinking about me when I'm not present. I need my dad to love me unconditionally. I think I wrote that one last night after somebody was sharing, and I was like, yeah, I like that. Number five, dad is a lousy father, emotionally unavailable, disappointing, and absent. Number six, I don't ever want to feel abandoned again. I don't ever want to think I've done something to gain disapproval. I don't ever want to be disappointed. I don't ever want to feel like I don't matter. And I don't ever, I think this is probably the most important one of all of these, is that I don't ever want to feel unimportant to someone I love. I think that's probably the one. I started this with like saying he abandoned our family, but he didn't abandon our family. I mean, maybe, but I don't feel like that.
85%.
Yeah, 85%. I wasn't aware of feeling abandoned, like.
That doesn't mean that you didn't feel abandoned, though.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Oh,
and there's different levels of abandonment, right? There's like physical absence, emotional absence, and, physical and emotional. So, okay. So, I actually don't have the sheet in front of me, so we're going to wing it. It's in my bag upstairs. So anyway, but that's okay. So we just asked the first question, is it true? So we can pick something from number one. Okay. Is it true that your dad made you feel unimportant? And I'll just repeat what I said in class last night. That sometimes the answer is yes, it is true.
Yeah.
And that the purpose of the question is not to refute every belief that you have, but to actually just understand, some beliefs are based more in fact and some are based more in conjecture or, whatnot. And
yeah. I can't know for sure that that's true. Like, and one case in point is that when he did show up, like when he came to pick us up at the beginning of the summer, like he genuinely seemed delighted to see us, and he would always put his arms out and, you know, have me run up and jump into him, and then he'd turn me around, and I felt when I was in his presence, like that that I was important. Like, I don't know that I've ever in his presence felt unimportant.
Okay, so
Right?
there's a distinction. Yeah.
It's, yeah, like when I'm there, and I don't feel like I need to prove myself to him necessarily. Like, I actually feel loved in his presence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's that when I'm not in his presence, that I feel abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That
Mm-hmm.
it's like out of sight, out of mind. There
Yeah.
will be no indication that I'm still loved or still important, because he doesn't actually tell me that he loves me, so I don't have anything like that to take with me. So I know that was very tangential, but so I can't know for sure that he makes me feel unimportant. uh, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I guess yeah.
Another question would be, is it really true that your dad doesn't, or that you don't matter to your dad as much as his work mattered to him? Like, do you know that that's true?
I don't know that that's true.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know that that's true. And that's
Mhm.
what it felt like.
Mhm.
But I mean, I don't know what his inner state was like.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. And then how do you feel? What do you say? What do you think? How do you show up when you have the thought, I'm not as important as my dad's work, or I wasn't as important as a child? However you would want to phrase that. How does it feel though? What happens in your body?
Well, there's a sadness for
Mm-hmm.
sure,
Mm-hmm.
and a tendency to try to prove that I matter, um, or that I'm, yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
it's there's a tendency to be extremely practical. Like, I mean, I realize that too. It's like I am like so practical, and in one case, like I love that about myself. Like, I mean, I work at the intersection of practicality and spirituality, like practical enlightenment. Like, how do you make this practical? Like, I love practical, um, but there's probably a drive underneath it. Is this like, if I can prove to you that this is practical, like if I can prove to you that this whole spirituality thing is efficient and practical, then it's worth my energy. So I think there's probably to get back to your question, there's like probably some underlying drive to prove that that what I'm that I'm practical, that I'm not just like some extra on the scene.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so practical equates to worthwhile.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he gave me a letter when I went to Paris to live with a family for like 6 months or 3 months. It was like, you know, let them say of you that you are very useful or something like that. Like, that was his advice of like me, you know, going to a different country and living with a family for a semester. Like, you know,
Useful.
all right, don't be a bother. Like,
Right,
don't be a
exactly.
bother. So yeah, I guess
Yeah.
that's it. Like, I feel like I'm a bother, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Right.
yeah.
And how would you feel if you didn't have that thought? If you never had the thought that you were not as important as his work? If the thought just didn't exist, if someone could reach into your brain and just pull it out, you've never once had the thought in your life that you were not as important as your dad's work, that you were just as valuable, how would that change things? What would that feel like?
Well, to appease Tracy, but also because it feels true, is a lot of freedom, right? Um, it would feel like a butterfly taking off, right? That just,
Mhm.
and maybe in that image of the butterfly too, is just like that ability to flit and kind of be beautiful and enjoy, and visit flower to flower, um and just you know be for no reason, right? And
Mhm. Yeah, just to be light and free.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
look, I'm even wearing like something that's like butterfly wings.
totally, totally. And so, is there like a stress-free or a loving reason to keep the thought that you're not as important as your dad's work? Loving to you is the
Right, no, of
not
course
loving to
not.
your
I mean,
dad,
that's
but
like
yeah, yeah,
no.
yeah. So let's turn it around a couple of ways. So I'm not as important as my dad's work.
Hmm.
What's the quickest, obvious turnaround for that?
Well, one of them is that my dad's not as important as my work.
That's definitely one of the turnarounds.
um I am as important as my dad's work.
That's the most obvious one. Yes.
And there's one more, right?
Um, um, there's sometimes is and there's sometimes isn't. There sometimes are like 10 turnarounds depending on the thing.
I
So
am my dad's work. My
totally.
dad is my work.
Um, 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 my dad's work is more important
Oh yeah, than
to
me.
yeah than me.
Yeah, to
Yeah,
him.
to
Oh
him. Yeah, exactly. My dad's work is more important. I mean, that's the original phrase. It's just kind of rephrasing it in a way
yeah,
where it's like empowering to him.
yeah. and
Um,
and like, honestly, I can be okay with that. Like, my dad's work is more important to him than me. Like that's fine. As is, the true or more true is that my work is more important to me than my dad. I mean, honestly, I spend a lot more time doing my work than, I mean, I'm not calling my dad, right? So, um,
right.
and the phone goes both ways, and it's not like I'm reaching out every week and he's not answering. Like, every time I call, he's happy to hear from me. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so for sure, the turnarounds are valid.
Mhm.
Um, and can I also feel that there's truth in I am as important to my dad as his work? Um, does it help that he retired this year?
Yeah, that gives you a leg up.
Yeah. I was like, well, he doesn't have work anymore, so yeah. Um, yes, I could believe that I am, and he just doesn't have the ability to express it, right?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
Like, that's not in his wheelhouse. He's a mathematician, for God's sake. Like,
Oh, perfect segue then. So let's go skip to number 4, the things you need. I
mm,
need my dad to love me unconditionally. Is that true? Is that
no,
really, really true? Do you need that in order to just make it through your day, survive, live?
no, no, I
Hmm.
don't. I really
Hmm.
don't. Like, I,
Hmm. So, but when you have that thought, I need my dad to love me unconditionally, like, how do you feel? What do you react? How do you move through the world? What do you say? What do you do?
yeah, well, that one, I wrote down when somebody else was speaking, so I'm not sure it was so much
Mhm.
mine, but I did write it down. So, um, so to have that sentence feel more true to me, and then we can
Mhm.
decide whether that's true, is that it's like I need my dad to acknowledge that I'm valuable, even though I may not be practical.
I have another question for you. Do you need your dad to acknowledge that he was absent for so much of your childhood? Or rather, for so much of your life, period?
um, yeah, I think I would love a conversation about, like, I would love to know what his take is on it, like,
Mhm.
what was it like for him? Um, And,
So
you know,
that could be like, I need to know why my dad
yeah,
made the choices he did.
yeah, I need to know why. Yeah, I would say that's probably more of a like,
Mhm.
and then what do we do with that?
Yeah, so how do you feel when you believe the thought that I need to know what my dad was thinking all these
Yeah,
years? What the hell was he thinking?
right.
Aren't we good enough? Aren't we fun? Aren't we pleasant? Aren't we practical enough for him to want to spend time with us? What was he thinking? I
Yes.
need to know.
What do I think when I think that thought? Um, well, I think that would be nice, um, but I don't need that in order to be happy. Like
Mhm.
I don't.
Pretend that you did.
Okay, pretend that I needed that. Then what
Mhm.
would I think about the thought?
Yeah, like how would it feel to think that thought? I need to know what he was thinking all these years. I need to know why.
Well, it would
Why did
feel
he abandon
needy.
us?
It would
What?
feel needy to
Yeah.
have that, and it would feel like I was giving my power away to somebody else and saying that I'm dependent on this other person for my happiness,
Hmm.
which just seems really
Hmm.
disempowering.
Hmm. Small.
Small, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
And well, it also seems very impractical.
Enough with the practicality.
I can't help it. Efficiency, practicality, like those are
Emotions are not practical.
my.
All right, so I need to know what my father was thinking. My dad was thinking all these years. Um, so there's no good reason for you. I mean, you don't even really believe the thought. So we could go through the process. Is there a loving or stress-free reason to keep that thought? No.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's turn it around.
Okay.
I need my dad. I need to know what my dad was thinking all these years.
I don't need to
Or,
know what my dad was thinking.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Another turnaround.
My dad needs to know what I was thinking all these years.
Another one.
Um, my dad doesn't need to know what I was thinking.
Another one.
More obvious. Not seeing it.
I need to know what I was thinking all
Oh,
these years.
I need to know what I was thinking all of these years. Yeah.
All these years of saying, how come he didn't show up for me? How come he didn't do better? How come I didn't get a birthday present? How come he didn't call?
Mhm.
Not that you're obsessing about it, but let's just say you were.
Mhm.
And over your lifetime, you've certainly spent a lot of thoughts wondering,
Yeah.
how come he didn't call for my birthday?
Yeah. So what's the question? Oh, well, I
So
need to
it's
know what
just one of the turnarounds.
yeah.
So which ones of these are truer than others? Some will be truer than the original statement. Some will not be truer than the original statement. But it helps to understand, to pull apart the truth of the situation.
Yeah. So I think for me, it's I need to know what I was thinking all of these years. The one that I couldn't see is
Hmm.
like what I need to know what my role was in this and to own what I mean, then am I just like trying to figure out what I did wrong in order to like get somebody's approval, right? It's like,
Mhm.
but
No, it's just being able to put something to bed, right? When you just finally take the responsibility for it, then you say, I don't need to ask that question anymore.
mhm,
I don't know why he didn't call. I could just call him and ask him. If I really need to know, I'll just call him and ask him, why didn't you call? Or I'm
right.
just going to put it to bed because it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, how do you feel? Or let's do this one. So, my dad is a lousy father.
Mhm.
Is that true? 100% true.
100%? No, 85.
100%. 85% maybe. Sorry, dad, if you're watching this.
Yeah, not even 85. I mean, it's not true. He wasn't a lousy father. He
Hmm.
isn't a lousy father. I mean,
Hmm.
as far as the fathers, like on the scale of fathers,
On the scale of lousy fathers.
on the scale of lousy fathers, he's
Uh-huh.
not at the top of the list.
So, how does it feel though when you've thought the thought, my dad's a lousy father?
Um,
Or think about this, my dad's a lousy grandfather. Mm.
yeah.
Mm.
Um,
How's it feel when you think that one?
it feels I feel sad for him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and perhaps for that is the father, like as a lousy father too, is like, I mean, I can see it certainly with my girls, is like he's missing out on like some incredible beings. And if I'm going to go there, like he missed out on my brother and I, and we're both incredible too, like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know
Practical,
yeah.
but incredible. So,
Yeah, so there's when I think the thought that he is a lousy grandfather, it makes me feel sad.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And so, who would you be if you just never had that thought? If it just never occurred to you, no matter how vacant and absent he is, if you just didn't actually think that he was vacant, absent, and lousy, how would it feel?
um much more happy-go-lucky,
Mm-hmm.
and grateful for the times that the
Mm-hmm.
girls and he do get to interact,
Mm-hmm.
and super grateful that I am not absent mother, like that I'm getting to experience all this incredibleness, and there's gratitude there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So, is there a reason to keep the thought that he's a lousy grandfather?
No.
Mm-hmm. And turn it around. My dad is a lousy father and grandfather.
Like I'm a lousy daughter and my girls are lousy granddaughters.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Another,
he's not a lousy grandfather.
exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Um, yeah,
I
I don't
mean,
know if there's, in this case, I'm not sure. Is there another turnaround that you can think of?
no,
Yeah.
but I didn't see the last third turnaround either. So
Yeah, those are the hardest ones, right? When it's actually like us, like when it's really us. Like it's really, these are, in this instance, it's a little bit more obvious. So I don't ever want to feel like I don't ever want to feel unimportant to someone I love.
yeah,
I am willing to. Yeah, I know it sucks.
yeah, um,
It can.
yeah. I
Just,
am. So sure, well, I'll go there. I am willing to feel unimportant to someone I love.
mhm. I look forward to.
I look forward to it. I look forward to feeling unimportant to someone I love.
How's that feel? What does it feel like when you say that?
Um, well, it doesn't feel completely true
Hmm.
at this point, but I can see it in that I'm always wanting the truth, right? And so, although it doesn't like delight me to put myself into an AFCO, like I am 100% willing, and
Hmm.
I'm 100% willing to, and 15% looking forward to.
Right. And so do you want to explain the reasoning behind those last two for the class so they understand it?
Like why we want to go there.
Why we're willing to and why we look forward to.
Oh, because because if we're not willing to do something that is most likely going to happen, then we're not willing to see reality with what it is. And and the other one maybe just is like, icing on the cake. It's like, um you know if this is reality, then you look forward to meeting it where it is, um because that gives you an opportunity to not fight with something that you fought with before,
Mm-hmm.
to find to find peace where there wasn't before. And if you don't experience that again, then you don't know that you've made peace with it, or you don't kind of know the depths of which you've done it.
Mm-hmm.
That's my take. Do you have something you want to?
Yeah, that's just like, that's where awareness happens, right? When we realize that we're feeling the same old familiar feeling and it's triggering the same old thing, then that means that once we have awareness that we're being triggered or we're feeling the same way that we used to feel, then that means we're awake,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, right. Not
Not we're
completely,
not sleeping through it.
right. Not completely identified with the situation or the thoughts or feelings around it,
Mm-hmm.
but recognizing that,
Mm-hmm.
there's that pattern again, or there's that.
Yes, and then you know that there's more to work on, and you have the opportunity to work on it because
Yeah,
you're not asleep.
right.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Cool.
All right. So I'm going to stop the recording and then
And you'll do the 90 seconds homework
yeah,
just in like an email.
yeah.